Yeah, I think that's why it's so important, Alexander, because this is important for the rest of the world, isn't it? This is an admission that all the grand schemes and promises about net zero, well, when the rubber hits the road, they actually run into problems. A, they're impractical, and B, they're way too expensive. And it's something that our government here in Australia needs to wake up to, because they can all talk the net zero dream, but no one's been able to do it, not with the technology on the table at the moment.
Yeah, and what they're finding in the UK is the lower the income of the citizen, the more, I mean, not surprisingly, the more resistant they are to a lot of these green policies. That everybody agrees. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just eliminate climate change and have for the rest of an eternity an entirely stable climate? That would be lovely if we could find a way of doing that. But on the pathway to working out the scientific solution to that problem, we don't want to be punished. We don't want to end up with our living standards being absolutely crippled. The other thing is these policies were very regressive. Lower income people are penalised. The rich living in, Belgravia and Kensington, the equivalent of sort of Vaucluse and Toorak, they don't care if another couple of £1,000 a year for some energy saving initiative, but for somebody on low incomes, this is a huge issue, and that is starting to show up in the polling in the UK.
Yeah, and Alexander, just briefly, exactly the same dynamic is playing out here in Australia, right?
Exactly. I mean, I think in Australia. And I'm in Adelaide at the moment. I mean, I think in Australia, people are slowly starting to think about this because, politicians have been promising falls in electricity prices and that, wind and solar are much cheaper, aren't they, than what we've been used to. And people have kind of believed that, or at least wanted to believe it. But now, of course, the reality is striking home. We have a cost of living crisis. We have ever increasing energy costs. And that's partly because of the huge cost of this obsession with the energy transition. And so people will say it's okay to address climate change. And we agree with you that we think we should address that. But by the way, I'm not paying big dollars for the transition. And now, at the moment, we're finding that the big bills are starting to come in for the transition, but just starting.
They are starting to mount now. We are out of time, but just before I let you go, I presume, like me, you're backing the ABC this weekend. Anyone but Collingwood?
I'm sorry to have to admit it, but you're right, I am. Yes, I mean, the Adelaide Crows, and you can see over my shoulder I have my loyal banner there in support of the Adelaide Crows. They are unfortunately not playing because they were robbed by the goal umpire.
They were robbed. We should get the International Criminal Court onto that one. Got to get moving. Thanks for joining us, Alexander. I appreciate it.